There is a rule in my family that the women in the clan should marry the orcs they have trained themselves, but my fox orc hates me deeply, because at first sight, he took a fancy to my elder sister, and he believes that it was me who separated them. He has always used his fox charm technique to manipulate me and help my elder sister take the position of the family head. In the end, I was mercilessly torn apart by my elder sister's orc. When I opened my eyes again, I was reborn on the day of choosing an orc. The little fox looked at me eagerly, his eyes scarlet. I raised my hand and, under his expectant gaze, pointed at the weak white snake behind him. I want him. The fox's eyes quivered. Don't you want me anymore? When I was devoured by a wolf, Pei Lang just watched from a distance, extremely indifferent. My half-sister, Cheng Yang, came over gracefully. Immediately, a look of tenderness and affection replaced the coldness on his face, and he rubbed against Cheng Yang's palm obediently. It was at this moment that I realized that Pei Lang had never liked me. Instead, he liked Cheng Yang, who at first disliked him for having no fighting ability except for his fox charm. Cheng Yang glanced at me lightly and gave an order. The black wolf bit through my throat in one bite. When I opened my eyes again, there was a hubbub in my ears, with the sound of discussion mixed with the roars of orcs. Someone pushed my arm. Cheng Yi. What are you in a daze for? I woke up as if from a dream, looking at the underage orc in the cage in front of me. I was shocked to realize that I had actually been reborn, and today was the day when my father brought us to the black market to choose an orc. There has always been an unwritten rule in the family that after coming of age, young men and women must personally select an orc to train as their future partner and must not betray or abandon them. The growth cycle of orcs is faster than that of humans. To avoid the situation where orcs hold grudges and fight back, the orcs available for our selection are all underage, looking like children of 11 or 12 years old. I have always not quite understood that the status of orcs and humans is not equal. For example, now, they can only be locked in cages, passively waiting to be selected. Then, why does the Cheng family have such a rule? Aren't they afraid of the orcs fighting back? Suddenly, the cold eyebrows and eyes of Pei Lang in my previous life flashed through my mind, and I pressed my aching chest. At this time, there were no less than 20 orcs locked in the huge cage. Orcs are naturally aggressive, and as expected, they were all scarred. I saw Pei Lang huddled in the corner at a glance. His arm was bitten, and his fox ears and tail could no longer be hidden. Meeting my gaze, his eyes lit up, and he actually came over. Cheng Yi, which one do you like? Behind me. Cheng Yang came over and smiled gently. She is the daughter born to my father and his first wife. At that time, she had a difficult labor, and her mother passed away right after giving birth to her. After that, my father married my mother, and my elder brother and I were born. Over the years, Cheng Yang has always maintained a perfect persona. She is modest and polite to the outside world, elegant and magnanimous. Inside the family, she is friendly to her younger sister, thoughtful and gentle. But in fact, she is insanely jealous of my elder brother and me, believing that we have stolen my father's attention from her and will even steal the family property that belongs to her. So she has been delaying choosing an orc partner. Instead, she waited for me so that she could set a trap for me. Looking at Cheng Yang, who was as elegant as a lotus at the moment, I understood. Presumably, Pei Lang had already fallen for her at this time. Cheng Yang also saw Pei Lang and said, "You've always loved beauty. I think this fox is quite pretty and suitable for you." I chuckled. Tisk, he's good for nothing except being pretty. Pei Lang's face suddenly turned pale. In my previous life, these words came from Cheng Yang's mouth, and after hearing them, a bubble of tears quickly welled up in Pei Lang's eyes. This time was no exception. He looked at me with a pale face, his eyes full of disbelief. This made me suspicious. Cheng Yang smiled and didn't chat with me anymore. She started to choose her favorite orc on her own, just like in my previous life. She chose that strong black wolf. Now, only I hadn't made my choice yet. There were few orcs left in the cage. At a glance, Pei Lang looked at me full of expectation. My gaze fell on the orc with a human body and a snake tail behind him. If I remember correctly, no one chose him in my previous life. But later, a terrifying orc appeared in the city. By Chuan, he single-handedly overthrew the entire black market, led countless orcs to escape, and then, after several years, represented the orcs to negotiate with humans and fought for the orcs of low status the right to enjoy equality. I was once fortunate enough to meet Bai Chuan, and that white snake tail was very familiar. At this moment, Bai Chuan could no longer maintain his human form. His snake tail hung listlessly, looking extremely weak. My father urged me, "Have you decided yet?" I nodded, yes. Pei Lang looked at me with excitement in his eyes, and his hand had already grasped the railing of the cage. I raised my hand and, in his expectant eyes, pointed at Bai Chuan behind him. "I want him." Pei Lang's expression froze, and he turned his head in disbelief to look at the weak Bai Chuan. "Why, don't you want me anymore?" I ignored Pei Lang. Bai Chuan behind him opened his eyes faintly, and his pair of snake pupils stared at me coldly and indifferently. I also looked at him and vowed, "Come with me, and I'll cure you." Bai Chuan's pale lips pursed into a line. He propped his arm on the floor and crawled towards me with a determined look in his eyes. He crawled to my feet and looked up at me steadily. I squatted down and raised my hand to touch his face. "I'll take you away." Pei Lang rushed over and grabbed my hand, anxiously saying, "Choose me, you should choose me. He's almost dying. Why are you choosing him?" Now I was sure, Pei Lang had also been reborn. Before I could get angry, Bai Chuan frowned. His snake tail, stained with bloodstains, coiled around Pei Lang and threw him hard. Pei Lang slammed into the wall. Bai Chuan's eyes were sinister and fierce. "Come up again, and I'll kill you." Looking at Pei Lang clutching his chest, I felt a sense of pleasure and pinched Bai Chuan's face in a good mood. "You're so amazing." Bai Chuan's eyelashes trembled, and he quickly lowered his eyelids. After my father paid the money, he told us to take our respective orcs home. Pei Lang, who was left in the cage, shouted my name unwillingly. I pretended to be annoyed and looked at the bodyguard beside me. "He's so annoying." The bodyguard immediately understood. "I understand, miss." I curled my lips. "In the black market, orcs that haven't been bought have to perform in the gladiatorial arena, which can be called a living hell. I'm looking forward to it." This good mood lasted until I got home. Orcs will be our partners in the future. My father is not stingy when it comes to the training of orcs. All kinds of manuals and medicinal herbs were sent to my room like flowing water. Bai Chuan's injuries were not serious, but he had a congenital illness, so his recovery was a bit slow. This made me even more curious about how he survived in the gladiatorial arena in his previous life. Perhaps my gaze was too obvious, and Bai Chuan's face gradually turned red. Master, do you have any instructions?" Hearing this address, I raised my eyebrows. In my previous life, I indulged Pei Lang too much, and he always called me by my name directly. Being called Master really has a different taste. I threw the medicine to him. "Apply the medicine yourself." Bai Chuan took it and nodded obediently. After a few days of recuperation, Bai Chuan had already returned to his human form, and he had also grown taller. Sure enough, orcs grow very fast. One day, my father found me and said that a highly skilled orc doctor had recently come to the city. She was from the mermaid clan. Her name was Meng Shi, and she could treat both orcs and humans. My father asked me to take Bai Chuan to see her. The mermaid clan is born with extremely strong healing abilities. Whether it's psychological or external injuries, as long as it's treated by them, it will return to its original state. As soon as my father finished speaking, he was about to leave. I quickly asked my question. "Father, the status of orcs and us is not equal. Why does the clan insist that we form a bond with orcs as partners?" Hearing this, my father sighed. "Cheng Yi, remember that the loyalty of orcs is something that no one can match. Whether you can make him loyal to you depends entirely on your ability." He waved his hand and didn't say more. I naturally know that the loyalty of orcs is rare, but in the current situation, it's not that easy to gain their loyalty. Isn't this just gambling with our lives? After watching my father leave, I turned around, went back to my room to call Bai Chuan, and took him to find Meng Shi. This was Bai Chuan's first time going out, and he was extremely curious about the streets. "Master, what's that?" "Ice cream. I bought one for him." "Master, what's that?" "An amusement park." "Master." I was a bit annoyed. "I'll teach you how to read when we get back, and then you'll know." "Okay." Bai Chuan's eyes curved into a smile, and he followed closely behind me. Out of the corner of my eye, I glanced at him. He was eating the ice cream absent-mindedly. Obviously, he didn't like it, and his eyes quickly scanned the surroundings. The careful disguise he had maintained all along showed a slight flaw. he didn't trust and rely on me as much as he appeared to. In fact, he was even wary of me. What's more, he wanted to use me, should I say, as expected of him. Soon, we arrived at the place my father mentioned. I thought it would be a magnificent high-rise building, resplendent and magnificent, because capable orcs are also feared and respected by humans. But what was in front of me was an ordinary small courtyard. So ordinary that I couldn't believe it was the right place if it weren't for the fact that it was full of people. After going in, I actually saw Pei Lang. He leaned weakly in a girl's arms, with more air going in than coming out, as if sensing something. Pei Lang opened his eyes and saw me at a glance. This glance was filled with countless grievances. He straightened up from the girl's arms with effort, his eyes red at the corners, and looked at me longingly. The next second, a hand covered my eyes, cutting off my gaze with Pei Lang. Bai Chuan's cold voice carried a hint of anger. Don't look at him, that fox enchantress. I couldn't help but laugh and raised my hand to take Bai Chuan's hand away. Go and queue up. Of course, I knew that Pei Lang was using his fox charm technique, but now, I wouldn't be bewitched. First, I only had hatred and wariness towards him. Second, his fox charm technique was still immature. Bai Chuan looked at me worriedly twice before going to queue up. I turned around and walked to the shaded area to rest. By the way, I took out my phone and asked the bodyguard what had happened to Pei Lang. The bodyguard quickly replied, saying that on the first day Pei Lang entered the gladiatorial arena, he charmed a girl who took a fancy to him. The girl's father and my father were still business partners. Her name was Tang Shui. When the black market saw that Tang Shui really wanted to buy Pei Lang, they deliberately raised the price. Since Tang Shui didn't have enough money, she went home to raise the money for a few days. During those days, under the instruction of the bodyguard, Pei Lang mostly fought against extremely fierce orcs. On the verge of death, Tang Shui rushed back and bought him. I understood. Presumably, Pei Lang was seriously injured, so Tang Shui brought him here to seek medical treatment. I couldn't help but look at Tang Shui carefully. She had a fair face and a lovely appearance. Looking innocent and without any scheming, no wonder she was charmed by Pei Lang. He really never changes his ways. Suddenly, Pei Lang broke free from Tang Shui and walked towards me. Hey, where are you going? Tang Shui reached out to pull him, but he pushed her away violently. Don't touch me. He glared at Tang Shui, and the look in his eyes was very familiar to me. It was disgust and revulsion. He was certain that Tang Shui couldn't do without him, so he acted recklessly towards her. I pressed the tip of my tongue against the roof of my mouth, feeling a bit irritable. Bai Chuan frowned and wanted to take action, but I stopped him with a look. Pei Lang staggered up to me. Those few steps seemed to have exhausted all his strength. His legs went weak, and he knelt down on one knee. He struggled to support himself to avoid collapsing completely on the ground. Cheng Yi, Pei Lang tried hard to raise his head, and his eyes were so sincere. I'm sorry, I know I was wrong. He cautiously stretched out his hand. Can you forgive me? It seemed that he had also guessed that I had been reborn. I didn't move. A hint of joy appeared on Pei Lang's face, and he was about to grab my hand. I looked at Tang Shui behind him. I'll teach you how to make an orc obedient. The next second, I kicked Pei Lang in the chest with all my strength. He flew backward and slammed into the chess table in the courtyard. Ugh, pooh. Pei Lang's face turned deathly pale. He covered his chest and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Tang Shui immediately rushed over and angrily rebuked me. What are you doing? This is my orc. Even if he's not obedient, he's still mine. When is it your turn to take action? I tilted my head. But you can't control him. I don't like foxes getting too close to me. There's a strong smell of fox. Upon hearing this, Pei Lang spat out another mouthful of blood and looked at me in disbelief. Tang Shui's face reddened. Where is there any smell of fox? You're talking nonsense. This is discrimination against orcs. Tisk, if you say that, my orc will be unhappy. With a cold face, Bai Chuan glanced at Pei Lang, who was barely breathing, and said to Tang Shui, you should be grateful that it was my master who took action, otherwise, I would have killed him. In his calm tone, there was undisguised killing intent. You, Tang Shui glared at him. You, she turned to look at me again. Finally, she snorted heavily, struggled to help Pei Lang up, and walked straight into the house. Make way, can't you see he's almost dying? Everyone was here to seek medical treatment and had been queuing for a long time. no one was willing to let Tang Shui cut in line. So, Tang Shui, supporting Pei Lang, was blocked at the door. She shouted anxiously, Miss Meng, Miss Meng. I beg you to save him, he's really going to die. From inside the house, a gentle female voice came, he won't die, just wait in line. I raised my eyebrows. I quite like this Meng Shi. Tang Shui had no choice but to wait in line anxiously. Pei Lang could no longer maintain his complete human form, and his fox tail and ears were exposed. Tang Shui glared at me resentfully. I'm not done with you. I glanced at her. Does your father know how much you spent on this orc? The Tang family is different from the Cheng family. The Cheng family still shows some respect for orcs, but the Tang family only treats orcs like livestock. If Tang Shui's father knew that she had spent millions on a useless orc, he would definitely be angry. Tang Shui was taken aback. You know my father. Then, her eyes widened. You're threatening me. I just smiled. Tang Shui pouted, and tears welled up in her eyes from anger. She sniffled. I didn't expect her to cry. And I suddenly felt a bit of a headache. Stop crying. Your orc isn't a good thing anyway. I won't allow you to say that about him. He may be a bit weak, but in my eyes, he's wonderful in every way. Fine. I shut up. After queuing for several hours, it was finally Pei Lang's turn. Bai Chuan and I came late and were behind them in the queue. By the time Tang Shui helped Pei Lang out of the house, it was already an hour later, and his complexion had improved a lot when he looked at me. The aggrieved look in his eyes was gone, replaced by a hint of resentment. Cheng Yi, you have such a cruel heart. I clicked my tongue. Not as cruel as you. Don't waste your breath on her. Let's go. Tang Shui snorted at me and helped Pei Lang away. Suddenly, Bai Chuan behind me said, do you know each other? I pointed at Meng Shi in the house. It's your turn. Bai Chuan pursed his lips. In the end, he said nothing and stepped into the house. I followed behind him and watched as Meng Shi examined and treated him, as expected of the mermaid clan. Without using any instruments, she could tell what was wrong with the patient just by reaching out. I sincerely praised her. You're really amazing. Meng Shi glanced at me and smiled. It's nothing. There are countless people in my clan who are better than me. Among them, especially. Her eyes flashed, and a look of sadness appeared on her face. She didn't continue. There are some deficiencies in his body, so he looks much weaker than other orcs, and it will also affect his lifespan. Bai Chuan's hand by his side suddenly clenched tightly, and his voice became much more nervous. Please help me. Then, he turned his head and looked at me pleadingly. I understood. Money is not a problem. However, Meng Shi shook her head and smiled bitterly. This is a congenital deficiency. My ability is limited, and I can't fix it. Bai Chuan's expression visibly turned disappointed, and his voice dropped a few tones. Thank you. He turned to leave, but Meng Shi looked at me. If Miss Cheng knows Lu Jingran, there might be a chance. I was a bit surprised, not only because Meng Shi recognized me, but also because of the name Lu Jingran. Lu Jingran is the most talented and unrestrained direct grandson of the Lu family, known as the young prince of the Lu family. I once studied at the same school as him and was somewhat familiar with him, but his health wasn't good, and later he took a leave of absence from school. We haven't been in touch for many years. Could it be? Is there someone capable around Lu Jingran? Meng Shi nodded. All of us in the mermaid clan have healing abilities, but it depends on our level of talent. The least talented mermaid can still repair themselves with their talent. But the most talented mermaid can use their singing voice to assist, which can bring the dead back to life and restore the bones and flesh. I looked at Meng Shi in shock. That's so amazing, but I've never heard of such a thing. It's not strange, because there hasn't been such a highly talented mermaid in our clan for hundreds of years. Then, she changed the subject, but in the past 20 years, there has been a mermaid born with this talent. A flash of inspiration went through my mind. And I vaguely guessed something. Bai Chuan asked eagerly, what's her name? Meng Tan. Sure enough, I see. Thank you, Miss Meng, for telling me. I took out a card and placed it on the table. After we went out, Bai Chuan couldn't wait to ask, are we going to find Meng Tan? There was a hint of excitement in his eyes, and he had lost his previous calmness. I pursed my lips. If possible, I'll take you to her. In my previous life, I heard the name Meng Tan. She was given to the Lu family by the mermaid clan to protect themselves, with her excellent healing ability, Lu Jingran hasn't been troubled by illness since then. It seems that she likes Lu Jingran, but Lu Jingran likes someone else, so he treats her very badly. I don't know what happened after that, because I was already dead at that time. Given Lu Jingran's naughty nature, if I go to him rashly, he will definitely not agree to let Meng Tan treat Bai Chuan. Bai Chuan saw my worry and became calmer. Master, don't worry, I'm fine. When he called me master, passers-by all turned to look. I suddenly felt a bit embarrassed and coughed twice uncomfortably. You don't have to call me that in front of others in the future. Just call me by my name. Bai Chuan readily agreed. Okay, Cheng Yi. After I got home, I anonymously told Tang Shue's father about the fact that she had bought Pei Lang at a high price. I don't want Tang Shue to become like me in the past. Sure enough, within 2 days, I heard the news that Tang Shue had been placed under house arrest, but the money had already been spent, and Tang Shue's father couldn't send Pei Lang back to the black market. He would definitely try every means to earn the money back from Pei Lang. The Tang family is another hell. At this moment, a maid rushed over in a hurry. Second miss, something's wrong. Bai Chuan and Xiao Wei are fighting. Xiao Wei is Cheng Yang's orc. I stood up abruptly and followed the maid to the garden outside the villa. Not far away, Bai Chuan was pinned down by Xiao Wei under a crabapple tree, and fists as big as sandbags were pounding on him one after another. Second miss, please save Bai Chuan quickly, he'll be beaten to death. The maid urged me anxiously. I raised my hand to signal her to be quiet, and my eyes were firmly fixed on Bai Chuan. After these few days of recuperation, Bai Chuan's body has improved a lot. Since he was able to survive in the gladiatorial arena with a weak body in his previous life, how could he be beaten down by Xiao Wei now? He's hiding his strength, because he doesn't trust me. In that case, I don't need to save him. I don't need an orc who might stab me in the back. The first step of this trust must be taken by him towards me. Bai Chuan still didn't resist. He protected his head with both hands, and the sound of bones breaking was so ear-piercing. He turned his head and spat out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, he saw me. There was surprise and sadness in his eyes, wordlessly accusing me of why I didn't save him. The hand by my side clenched tightly, and my lips pursed into a straight line. Xiao Wei punched Bai Chuan's soft abdomen one after another. He curled up, and his sharp and cold eyes looked at me through the gaps in the flowers. When Xiao Wei saw the blood, it was difficult to suppress his orc nature, and his eyes shone with excitement. The orc ears on his head suddenly emerged. Obviously, he was on the verge of going berserk. I held my breath, my body tensed up and trembled slightly, and I gritted my teeth and stared at Bai Chuan. Bai Chuan, as long as you take this step, I will definitely protect you from now on. Bai Chuan's normal pupils gradually turned into snake-like vertical pupils, making people feel a chill all over. When Xiao Wei lowered his head to bite through his throat, Bai Chuan moved, his legs turned back into a snake tail and coiled around Xiao Wei's body. At the same time, his fangs emerged from his mouth, and he bit Xiao Wei's neck without hesitation. Xiao Wei struggled in pain, his muscles bulged and trembled all over. Bai Chuan's snake tail tightened immediately, strangling him firmly. I saw Xiao Wei's face turn purple visibly, and I immediately understood that Bai Chuan's fangs were poisonous. So he's a venomous snake after all. Cheng Yang arrived late. Seeing that something was wrong, she coldly shouted, Bai Chuan, if you dare to kill him, try it. I immediately walked out with full confidence. So what if he kills him? When Cheng Yang saw me, her fierce expression changed several times. Finally, she took a deep breath. Cheng Yi, quickly tell Bai Chuan to stop. Xiao Wei will die. I smiled. Don't worry, sister, he has a sense of proportion. I gave Xiao Wei, who was gradually no longer struggling, a meaningful look. I won't let sister become a widow. Cheng Yang finally couldn't hold it in and raised her finger at me. Aren't you afraid that father will punish you when he finds out? I looked innocent. Bai Chuan is weak and has always been obedient. He definitely didn't provoke Xiao Wei on his own. He was forced into a corner and had to defend himself. Why would father punish me? My tone became serious. Shouldn't it be Xiao Wei who took the initiative to cause trouble that should be punished? You, stop making a fuss, both of you. Behind us, father's displeased voice suddenly came. Before Cheng Yang could pretend to be pitiful, I shed tears first. Father, look at sister. she's accusing others of what she herself has done and shifting the blame. Cheng Yang could only explain feebly. I didn't, father. Please save Xiao Wei. He's dying. Father snorted coldly and glanced at Cheng Yang. This is just the right time for him to learn a lesson. Don't think I don't know anything. The manual I gave you taught you how to make an orc suppress their animal nature. But what did you do? Father raised his voice, and Cheng Yang lowered her head. I was wrong, father. Cheng Yang, remember that Xiao Wei will be your husband in the future. What you need to do is not only to tame him but also to teach and train him, otherwise. He gave Cheng Yang a cold glance. Cheng Yang knelt down with a thud. Yes, seeing that Xiao Wei completely stopped moving, Cheng Yang was so anxious that tears welled up in her eyes. Father, please save Xiao Wei. After all, he is my future husband. Please, father. Only then did father look at me. I said to Bai Chuan, let go. After hearing this, Bai Chuan coiled his snake tail around Xiao Wei's limp body and gave it a hard throw. Xiao Wei was thrown out and hit the crabapple tree, causing petals to fall all over the ground. I quickly went to help Bai Chuan up. He seemed to have used all his strength. He couldn't even retract his snake tail and couldn't stand up at all. He leaned weakly in my arms. Father snorted coldly. I bought orcs for you, not for you to kill each other. If this happens again, you'll be expelled from the Cheng family. Cheng Yang's face turned pale. Obviously, she didn't expect the punishment to be so severe. I understand, father. After father left, Cheng Yang called a maid to carry Xiao Wei back. Looking at Xiao Wei's purple face, I asked, will you poison him to death? Bai Chuan's tone was cold. I won't cause trouble for myself. I turned to look at him. At this moment, the respect and flattery he usually showed me on his face were gone, replaced by endless indifference, and his vertical pupils were cold. This is the real him, I suppose. Suddenly, Bai Chuan's body went limp, and his head leaned softly on my shoulder as if he had no strength left. But I don't believe it. But since we're acting, we should do it thoroughly, right? So, I reached out and hugged his cold snake tail, and with one hand around his waist, I picked him up. Bai Chuan looked at me in surprise, and a blush quickly spread across his face. His snake tail moved restlessly. Don't move around. I carried him back to the room, and the doctor was already waiting. Bai Chuan's broken ribs were set back in place. He was in so much pain that his face turned pale, and the scales on his snake tail opened and closed, making my scalp tingle. I turned around and rubbed my arms. Soon, the doctor treated Bai Chuan's wounds and left after giving me some instructions. I glanced at his white snake tail. Can't you really retract it? Bai Chuan pursed his lips, under my gaze. He retracted his snake tail and turned it back into human legs again. It's really amazing to watch. My gaze slowly moved upward, and those vertical pupils that hadn't recovered yet stared at me without blinking. Why? He was asking me why I didn't rush out at the beginning. I smiled. Have you heard a saying? What saying? Sincere heart for sincere heart. When you don't trust me, don't expect me to trust you either. After coming out of Bai Chuan's room, I asked around and learned the whole story. Bai Chuan really likes the crabapple trees in the garden, and since it's the season when the crabapple flowers are in bloom, he would go and stroll under the crabapple trees when he had nothing to do. Unfortunately, he ran into Xiao Wei. Xiao Wei was feeling rather irritable and needed an outlet for his emotions, so he took it out on Bai Chuan. Cheng Yang's standard for orcs is their combat power. However, if an orc suppresses their innate nature, their combat power will be greatly reduced. That's why she has never taught Xiao Wei how to suppress his orcish nature. When she trained Xiao Wei, she almost pushed him to the limit, and then she would tenderly apply medicine to his wounds. After going through this process repeatedly, Xiao Wei became completely devoted to her. If I hadn't been blinded by Pei Lang's fox charm technique in my previous life and had put all my heart into him, losing my basic judgment, I wouldn't have ended up dying a tragic death. TSK. I wonder how Pei Lang is doing in the Tang family. It would have been fine if I hadn't inquired about it, but once I did, I couldn't help but be amused. The head of the Tang family is using Pei Lang's fox charm technique to make him serve many people, regardless of their gender. Pei Lang has a good-looking appearance, and with his fox charm technique, there were quite a few people who coveted him in my previous life. Moreover, he has no ability to protect himself. In order to protect him, I suffered a lot of losses, but every time, he would only say, "This is what you should do." What the hell is what I should do? Suddenly, a plan formed in my mind. When I was humming a little tune and going back to my room, I heard voices coming from Bai Chuan's room, so I couldn't help but get closer and listen. Cheng Yang said with a guilty tone, "Bai Chuan, I'm sorry, I didn't discipline Xiao Wei well today. How do you feel now? Do you need to apply medicine? I can help you with that." I raised my eyebrows and pressed my ear even closer. Bai Chuan's voice was cold and stern. "Get out. What about Cheng Yi? Isn't she going to stay and take care of you? You're so badly injured." Bai Chuan snorted coldly. "Wasn't it your future husband who injured me?" I almost burst out laughing and covered my mouth tightly. I guess Cheng Yang saw Bai Chuan's combat power and had the intention of winning him over. Seeing that Bai Chuan wasn't receptive, Cheng Yang gave some insincere words of advice and then prepared to leave. I quickly went back to my own room. Unexpectedly, the next second, there was a knock on my door. Bai Chuan stood at the door, looking at me with a serious expression. I was a bit surprised. He seemed to be so badly injured just now. How could he get out of bed so quickly? I know that orcs have strong self-healing abilities, but I didn't expect it to be this strong. Is there something wrong? "You said you would teach me how to read and write. I had forgotten about that. Sorry about that. Let's start now." Bai Chuan pursed his lips and walked in. I started teaching him the most basic pinyin. When I was sitting opposite him, he suddenly asked, "Was it interesting?" I was a bit confused. "Huh?" Bai Chuan raised his eyes. "Just now, was it interesting?" He was asking why I didn't go in just now. I smiled. It was quite interesting. Upon hearing this, Bai Chuan frowned and looked very unhappy. Even his tone carried a bit of accusation. "Do you have a feud with her?" Bai Chuan is very perceptive. He must have noticed that I'm at odds with Cheng Yang. I lowered my eyes. "Yes, I do." He was silent for a while. "I can kill her." I really didn't expect him to say that. "Then my father will kill you in revenge." Bai Chuan pursed his lips, and his eyes were sincere. "You said it. Sincere heart for sincere heart." For the first time, I saw his sincerity, but, why? It's true that sincere heart should be exchanged for sincere heart, but I haven't done anything so far. Why is he suddenly willing to exchange his sincerity with me? I don't believe he has no reason for it. There was a hint of nervousness in Bai Chuan's eyes. "I want Meng Tan to treat me. If I can have a healthy body, I can easily deal with Xiao Wei, instead of being so embarrassed like today." He lowered his eyes, hiding the unwillingness and resentment in his eyes. I smiled. "You were quite amazing today." In his previous life, he probably survived in the gladiatorial arena with this move as well. First show weakness, then strangle, and finally bite through the enemy's throat. Thinking of this, I unconsciously touched my throat. "TSK, this feeling. First, learn what you need to learn. As for Meng Tan, I will find a way." "Okay." The usually cold young man showed an expectant smile for the first time. A few days later, the old lady of the Tang family celebrated her 80th birthday and sent an invitation to the Cheng family. Because of what happened last time, my father didn't let Cheng Yang go with us. He only asked me to go. On such occasions, orcs are not allowed to enter, so I left Bai Chuan at home. At the banquet, I saw Tang Shui. She had been greeting the guests with a smiling face. As soon as she saw me, she immediately put on a stern expression. After following my father to present the gift, I came to Tang Shui's side. "Where's Pei Lang?" She gritted her teeth and glared at me. "How dare you ask? If it weren't for you, how could Pei Lang have ended up like this?" "Tang Shui, do we have a feud?" She was taken aback. "How would I know? It's clearly you who's targeting me." I smiled. "I'm not targeting you. I'm just targeting Pei Lang. If you don't believe me." I leaned close to her ear. After a while, Tang Shui looked skeptical. "I don't believe he would treat me like this." "Then give it a try." Taking advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention, Tang Shui took me and sneaked into the cellar where Pei Lang was being held. The smell of fishy odor mixed with the stench of decay was disgusting. I pinched my nose. "Go in, remember not to let him out." Tang Shui frowned, pinched her nose, and walked into the cellar in her high heels. I quietly followed behind her. After walking for a while, we finally saw the place where Pei Lang was being held. He was chained around the neck like a beast and locked in a cage. He was dirty all over and looked extremely miserable. I hid around the corner and didn't show myself. At the moment, Pei Lang had his eyes closed, and his orc ears on his head were drooping. if it weren't for the slight rise and fall of his chest. One would really think he was dead. Pei Lang, Tang Shui called him softly twice. Pei Lang slowly opened his eyes. When he saw Tang Shui, he immediately became excited. Are you here to save me? The chains made a clear sound due to his movement. Pei Lang was in a sorry state, but his eyes were really beautiful. He stared straight at Tang Shui. Tang Shui lowered her head and hesitated before speaking. I can't save you out for now. My dad is still angry. Then she immediately promised, but you believe me, I will definitely save you out. Upon hearing this, Pei Lang anxiously stretched his hand out of the cage. Tang Shui, look at me, will you? I'm begging you, save me out, just like you saved me from the gladiatorial arena back then. You were like my savior at that time. Please, look at me. Tang Shui gritted her teeth and, following my words, didn't look into Pei Lang's eyes, making it impossible for him to use his fox charm technique. She kept repeating what she had just said, and after a few times, Pei Lang couldn't pretend anymore. He was fed up with the days of serving others day and night, which were even worse than that of a beast, and all of this was because Tang Shui had bought him back. Tang Shui, I told you to save me out. I want to get out. His voice suddenly rose, and he slapped the cage violently. Tang Shui was startled. I can't do it now. Pei Lang was furious. Why not? Why? Weren't you doing so well in the gladiatorial arena? Weren't you borrowing money everywhere for me? Why can't you do it now? Look at my current state. This is all your fault. Tang Shui was stunned. You're blaming me. Clearly, you were the one who begged me to save you at that time. Pei Lang just gave up. I should have known that if I had come out with you, I would have suffered so much. I would have deceived anyone but you. Who told you to be so easily deceived? I had just started using my fox charm technique, and you couldn't wait to throw yourself at me, just like Cheng Yi. Cheng Yi, did you deceive her too? Seeing this, I walked out from around the corner. See clearly, he just used a little trick, and you rushed to offer yourself. In the end, you were even blamed. Tang Shui turned to look at me with tears in her eyes. I patted her shoulder. Go out and wait for me, you. She looked at Pei Lang worriedly. It's okay. Tang Shui walked out. Looking back every few steps, soon, only Pei Lang and I were left in the cellar. Pei Lang looked at me and said tentatively, what do you want to do? I'm really curious. How did you get reborn? Pei Lang's face suddenly turned pale. I thought for a moment. Let me guess. After I died in my previous life, you followed Cheng Yang. But your fox charm technique probably didn't seduce her, right? She must have been on guard against you. I treated you so well, and you still treated me so harshly. She must also be worried that you would stab her in the back, but it would be a waste not to make use of your talent. Did she ask you to seduce others, just like what you're doing now? I looked Pei Lang up and down. His dirty and tattered clothes couldn't hide his ruined body underneath. At first, I didn't think in this direction, but seeing Pei Lang's numb appearance, I couldn't help but think more. I snorted coldly, until finally, when you were completely useless. Her black wolf killed you just like it killed me. No, she treated me very well, very well. You're talking nonsense. Pei Lang's eyes were red, and his whole body was shaking. I tilted my head. Then why were you expecting me to buy you? His expression froze, as if his dream had been shattered. Cheng Yi, why didn't you choose me? Why? Pei Lang's tears and snot flowed together. I know I was wrong. I already know I was wrong. I want to be with you properly. But why didn't you choose me? Can you choose me again? This time, I will definitely love you well. I won't deceive you again. Cheng Yi, Pei Lang anxiously reached out his hand, trying to grab me. I took a step back, and he missed. The chain around his neck locked him tightly. I'll give you a chance to get revenge. When I came out of the cellar, Tang Shui was still waiting outside, and her eyes were all red from crying. I was a bit helpless. I already told you he's not a good person. Why are you still crying so sadly? Tang Shui looked at me with red eyes, like a little rabbit. I'm sorry, I was a bit surprised by her sudden apology. Tang Shui eagerly grabbed my arm. I was so stupid before. I thought that, at first sight, I and he were meant to be together for 10,000 years. I thought, gradually, she couldn't hold back her sobs. I thought woo-woo that I and he would be woo-woo, an earth-shattering woo-woo couple of human and orc woo-woo. My ears hurt from her sobbing. You have to see if your dad agrees if you want a relationship between a human and an orc. Come on, let's go back. Woo woo okay. After barely soothing Tang Shui, I asked her, is Lu Jingran on the guest list? This was my second purpose for today. Tang Shui thought for a while and nodded. Did he bring a female companion? I didn't pay attention. He came to present a gift and then went to rest. You know he's not in good health, after all. It's the old lady's 80th birthday. No matter how naughty Lu Jingran is, he won't leave the banquet early. After all, he represents the Lu family. Where is he resting? I'll take you there. Tang Shui huffed and puffed as she led me to the VIP rest area. Before we went in, we heard a melodious and pleasant chanting. Instantly, I felt my mood soothed, and my whole body felt relaxed. Tang Shui exclaimed, I feel comforted. I'm not sad anymore. I even feel like I can go back and stab him a dozen or 20 times. I looked at her in surprise. Does it have such an effect? Then it seems that this must be Meng Tan. It's too unrealistic to directly approach Lu Jingran and ask him for Meng Tan. His temper is extremely strange. It's better to approach Meng Tan directly. After sending Tang Shui away, I opened the door opposite Lu Jingran's room, then sat at the door and listened attentively. The melodious chanting kept coming. While I felt comfortable all over, I also felt a bit drowsy. I felt that the hatred from my previous life had been cured. I yawned, resisted the drowsiness, and patiently waited for Meng Tan to come out, but unexpectedly, I waited for a whole night. The whole night, the chanting didn't stop. Meng Tan's voice was hoarse later. I was so angry when I heard that. What on earth is Lu Jingran doing? He can't treat her like this just because she was given to him when the attendant brought breakfast. The chanting finally stopped. I opened the door and just saw Meng Tan coming out of Lu Jingran's room. She waved her hand and refused the attendant's offer of breakfast. Hello, I waved my hand. Meng Tan saw me and smiled. She is really beautiful. Her skin is delicate and smooth. Her eyes are bright and her teeth are white. The key is that she has an indescribable aura about her. In short, it's easy to have a good impression of her at the first sight. My name is Cheng Yi, Meng Tan. Her voice was a bit hoarse. This made me a bit hesitant. She seemed to see my hesitation and smiled. Do you need my help? I stepped aside and made a, please, gesture. Is it convenient to talk inside? Meng Tan nodded and stepped in. I poured her a glass of warm water to moisten her throat, and then I said, I have an orc who has a congenital defect in his body. I previously went to see Miss Meng Shi, but she couldn't fix it. She recommended you to me. Upon hearing this, Meng Tan nodded. Meng Shi is my aunt. I was a bit surprised because Meng Shi looks about the same age as her. Meng Tan looked at the time. I still have 2 hours. You can take your orc to a nearby hotel. Also, regarding the reward, if there is a congenital defect in the body, I need 2 million yuan. After saying that, she lowered her eyes, and her long eyelashes hid the emotions in her eyes. What I was worried about was her throat. Now, but your throat. Meng Tan smiled and shook her head. It's okay, it's like this every day. If you want to wait until my throat gets better, I'm afraid you won't be able to wait that long. My heart suddenly sank. It's like this every day. Is Lu Jingran very ill? No, he isn't. Then why? I was a bit indignant. Meng Tan smiled a bit bitterly. He's just torturing me. I suddenly remembered the rumors I heard in my previous life. You don't stick to just one person. You're overthinking it. Hurry up and arrange the hotel. Otherwise, when Lu Jingran wakes up, there won't be a chance. I quickly booked a nearby hotel and then notified Bai Chuan to come over. After hanging up the phone, I turned around and looked at Meng Tan, who was sitting at the table. She was having breakfast, and every move she made was a feast for the eyes. But her thin back made one feel a pang of pity for no reason. I sat down opposite her, opening my mouth several times but then holding back what I wanted to say. In the end, I said nothing. Soon, Bai Chuan arrived. He had clearly run all the way here. As sweat was still beading on his forehead, Meng Tan held out her hand to him. He glanced at me, and only after I nodded did he walk over cautiously. Meng Tan placed her hand on Bai Chuan's, and her brows gradually furrowed. I immediately grew nervous. In my previous life, due to his congenital defect, Bai Chuan died at the age of 25. He was clearly an orc that struck fear into the hearts of humans and had super destructive power. He was the leader that all orcs revered and with whom humans signed a treaty of equality. He was the one who single-handedly promoted peaceful coexistence between humans and orcs. Yet such a person died silently in that small wooden house in the mountains. At that time, Pei Lang and I had a quarrel. And he ran up the mountain alone. I went to look for him, unexpectedly. Instead of finding Pei Lang, I found Bai Chuan. The white snake tail reminded me of the orc huddled in the cage at the black market. At that time, I only took a glance and didn't pay much attention. Later, I pieced together his identity from Bai Chuan's personal belongings. I thought he definitely wouldn't want others to know that he had died like this. After all, he still had so many ambitions, so I dug a hole on the spot and carefully buried him, but in the end, he shouldn't have died so quietly. So, the first time I saw Bai Chuan after being reborn, a voice in my head told me, take him away and cure him, and now, Bai Chuan was about to be cured. I watched them nervously. Bai Chuan also looked at Meng Tan nervously. Meng Tan parted her red lips slightly, and a soft chanting escaped from her throat. Bai Chuan's face suddenly changed, and he covered his chest. I was worried. But I didn't dare to interrupt recklessly, and Meng Tan wasn't doing much better. Every chant seemed to tear at her throat. Gradually, a trace of blood seeped out from the corner of her lips. I rushed forward in a hurry, but she shook her head at me. An hour later, the chanting stopped. Bai Chuan and Meng Tan both collapsed to the ground. I quickly caught Meng Tan, wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, and apologized in a panic. I'm sorry, I didn't know it would be like this. Are you okay? Meng Tan was breathing rapidly, but she still shook her head. It's okay, you paid the money, and I did the work. There's nothing to be sorry about. I helped her up. Let me take you back. Wait a minute. Meng Tan looked at Bai Chuan, who was gasping for air on the ground, and said, I've repaired the defect in his body, but he still needs to take medication in the future. Also, due to his physical defect, he is much smaller than an ordinary orc, but in fact, he is already an adult. Adult orcs will enter the rutting period. You have to be careful not to let him hurt you. I nodded repeatedly. I understand. You take a rest, okay? Meng Tan closed her eyes and said nothing more. I called for a car and personally took Meng Tan back to the Tang family's residence. I had planned to quietly send her back to the suite to rest the way we came, but unexpectedly, as soon as we arrived at the gate of the Tang family, we saw Lu Jingran with a gloomy face. Behind him was Tang Shui, who was crying with red eyes but still trying to smile. Damn, we were discovered. I wanted to get out of the car with Meng Tan, but she held me back. Go back. I shook my head. After all, I was once classmates with Lu Jingran. He should give me some face. Meng Tan smiled bitterly. If he were willing to give you face, why would you have come to me directly? Don't worry, I'll be fine. After all, Lu Jingran still needs me. Go back. Trust me. I gritted my teeth and finally stuffed the card into Meng Tan's hand. Unexpectedly, she gave it back to me. Give it to my aunt. She knows how to use it. I can't use it. After saying that, Meng Tan opened the car door. The moment he saw her, Lu Jingran's face visibly darkened. On the way back to the hotel, I was restless. I asked Tang Shui what had happened. She said that Lu Jingran had woken up half an hour ago and had been looking for Meng Tan everywhere, throwing a huge tantrum. Everyone knew how important Meng Tan was to him, so they joined in the search. Finally, they checked the surveillance and saw that I was the one who took Meng Tan away. Under her father's questioning, Tang Shui had no choice but to tell them about how I had been waiting for Meng Tan last night. She got scolded. I had a feeling that I would also get scolded when I got back. But what I was more worried about was Meng Tan. I clenched the card in my hand and pushed open the hotel door. Just as I was about to call Bai Chuan and leave together, he pounced on me. He, who was always cold, was now burning hot all over. He had also grown taller and stronger. I immediately realized what Meng Tan had said before. The rutting period. Could it be so soon? Bai Chuan, it's me. Look clearly. I tried my best to push him away. His burning, hot hand gripped my waist, and his forehead pressed against mine. Master, this, master, was deep and magnetic. The voice of a fully grown man. Damn it. I didn't expect Meng Tan to be this amazing. You, let me go. You can't do this. Bai Chuan lowered his head slightly, rubbed his nose against my cheek, and the hot air he exhaled tickled my face. I used all my strength to push him away. But he didn't budge, and the hand gripping my waist gradually tightened. It hurts. This is my waist, not cotton. Bai Chuan buried his head in my shoulder, panting heavily. Help me, master. How the hell am I supposed to help? Please, please. He moaned impatiently. Okay, I'll help you. Let me go first. Bai Chuan loosened his grip on me slightly. The next second, I turned around and ran. Just as I was about to grab the doorknob, a snake tail suddenly wrapped around my waist. I looked back and saw that Bai Chuan had already shown his snake pupils, and some snake scales were faintly appearing on his cheeks. Damn, this is a sign of animalization. Help me, you promised. His vertical pupils became deeper and more mysterious. Okay, I'll help you. I gritted my teeth, deciding to go all in. In my previous life, Pei Lang also had his rutting periods, but he didn't want to get close to me. He wanted to remain chaste for Cheng Yang. So I had no idea it would be this difficult. My father's phone rang again and again, and my hand, which was being held, had lost all feeling. By the time I got back to the Cheng family, it was already dark. I felt extremely guilty. My father was waiting for me in the hall. As soon as I entered, he roared, "Kneel down." I knelt down with a thud and pulled Bai Chuan down with me. Cheng Yi, have I been too lenient with you on a daily basis? That's why you're so lawless. If you wanted to find Meng Tan to treat Bai Chuan, you could have just told me. You abducted her. Didn't you think about what would happen if something happened to Lu Jingran? How would we explain it to the Lu family then? My father's chest heaved violently with anger. I quickly admitted my mistake. I know I was wrong. Father, don't be angry. If your brother were at home, I wouldn't have to worry so much about you. Take a page out of your sister's book. She's a proper lady from a noble family, behaving herself. I lowered my head and endured the scolding. Suddenly, Bai Chuan squeezed my hand. I turned my head. I saw Cheng Yang coming in from outside, along with a dirty-looking Pei Lang. It seemed that Pei Lang had succeeded. I couldn't help but curl the corners of my lips. You still dare to laugh? I immediately straightened my mouth. No, father. Cheng Yang came to my father's side and tried to soothe him. Cheng Yi, what did you do to make father so angry? So, my father scolded me all over again from the beginning. Cheng Yang, I really thank you. When my father was scolding me, Cheng Yang seemed to be speaking up for me, but in fact, she was adding fuel to the fire. In the end, I was placed under house arrest for a month. Finally, when I was allowed to return to my room, Cheng Yang suddenly said, Cheng Yi, is this Bai Chuan? I turned around. By now, Bai Chuan was almost as tall as me. And his features had changed a little, becoming more mature, but just yesterday, he still looked like a 12-year-old boy. Speaking of which, this brings us back to the rutting period. Unexpectedly, my father waved his hand. All right, I know everything, go back. Okay. I quickly turned around and ran back to my room. Of course, I didn't miss the jealous look in Cheng Yang's eyes. After returning to my room, I beckoned Bai Chuan over. He raised an eyebrow, again. His eyes were filled with an ambiguous look. Bai Chuan, I stamped my foot in anger, but he smiled casually. What does master want? I took a deep breath and calmed down. This was all within your expectations, wasn't it? His body might have looked like that of an underage orc due to his weakness, but his mind certainly wasn't. So, from start to finish, I had been played by him. No, he looked at me with a serious expression. You buying me was unexpected. So everything else was within his expectations, as expected of you. Aren't you the one who can overthrow the black market, strike fear into people's hearts, and sign treaties between orcs and humans? I gritted my teeth. Bai Chuan smiled softly. You've made a profit, haven't you, master? He deliberately drew out the word, master. I turned around. Please leave my room. If I can't afford to provoke you, can't I avoid you? I was placed under house arrest for a month. I asked my bodyguard to give Meng Tan's card to Meng Shi. During this period, I tried to search for news about Meng Tan, but without exception, I found nothing. This made me a little worried. Since Bai Chuan recovered, he has grown rapidly. It feels like in just 2 days, he has become much taller than me. I don't know if it's my illusion, but I feel that he is increasingly exuding the same aura of being in control and calm in the face of danger as he did in my previous life. My father is pleased to see this and has become much kinder to me. since Cheng Yang brought Pei Lang back. Pei Lang has reported to me every day about what Cheng Yang has done and is gradually using his fox charm technique to bewitch her. I want her to experience everything I suffered in my previous life. At first, Cheng Yang wasn't easily influenced, but since Xiao Wei was injured by Bai Chuan, he hasn't been the same, coupled with my secret interference. I've repeatedly damaged her image in front of others. She has become more and more irritable and increasingly wants to kill me. Every time this happens, Pei Lang appears to soothe her and takes the opportunity to bewitch her. Gradually, Cheng Yang has fallen into his tender trap. Pei Lang treats Cheng Yang in this life exactly the same way he treated me in my previous life, causing Cheng Yang to do many embarrassing things. For example, she made a scene and cried hysterically with Pei Lang in public, behaving like a shrew. For example, she was filled with self-pity and tried to cut herself to win Pei Lang back. The most serious incident was when she almost slit her wrists. Fortunately, the maid discovered it in time and informed my father. My father rushed back from the company and slapped Cheng Yang. "Are you crazy? For the sake of an orc?" Cheng Yang glared at my father. "Isn't this what you want, father? Don't you want us to form a bond with orcs and be together for life? Why are you unhappy now?" Angry and annoyed, my father splashed a cup of tea in Cheng Yang's face. "Come to your senses." Cheng Yang regained her senses briefly. "Father," my father rubbed his forehead in frustration, "I know you've always resented me, thinking I've treated you unfairly, believing I shouldn't have remarried and had Cheng Yi and her brother. You even think that the Cheng family belongs to you and that they will take it away from you. But Yang, ask yourself, when have I ever treated you unfairly?" My father looked up, and tears welled up in his eyes. "You're a few years older than Cheng Yi. You can't be unaware of why the Cheng family chooses and trains orcs at the age of 18 to be our partners." I was a bit confused and asked, "Why?" My father glanced at me and let out a long sigh. "This is a rule set by our ancestors. If you want to take over the family business, you must have a connection with an orc." Yang, you know the Cheng family's ancestral motto, "The position of the family head should be held by the most capable, regardless of gender." If you were really interested, you should have carefully selected and trained your orc partner 3 years ago to prepare for entering the company, instead of delaying it again and again. Cheng Yang laughed sarcastically. "Father, don't be so high-minded. Do you really think you've been fair? I've had no mother since I was born. You were always busy with company affairs and left me in the care of nannies. Yes, you didn't skimp on my material needs, but how much companionship and love did you give me? After you remarried and had Cheng Yi and her brother, you held her and comforted her. But did you ever hold or comfort me? It's true that you gave me things first. But was that what I wanted? I wanted an apple. But you gave me a pear because Cheng Yi wanted a pear." These seemingly insignificant details have become knots in my heart one after another. "You've never been fair at all." My father's eyes flickered and gradually turned red. Yang, I'm sorry, it's my fault." Cheng Yang suddenly became agitated. "Sorry doesn't cut it. I want Cheng Yi dead. I want them all dead." She rushed over and grabbed me. "Cheng Yi, I had a dream." Her expression was manic. "I dreamed that you were dead. Bitten to death by Xiao Wei in his beast form. Ha ha ha, you're dead." I felt my blood freeze and turn ice cold. This wasn't a dream, it was real. Unable to watch any longer, my father ordered Cheng Yang to be locked up. When Pei Lang came to me eagerly seeking praise, I took him to Cheng Yang's room, in the Tang family's cellar. I told Pei Lang that I could help him get out, but he had to follow my orders and seduce Cheng Yang. He agreed. Now that Cheng Yang has collapsed, it's his turn. From inside the room, Cheng Yang's voice could be heard. "Pei Lang, why are you ignoring me? Don't you love me anymore? But you said you loved me the most. You said you would stay with me forever. You said you would give me everything I wanted." "Cheng Yang, you're crazy." Pei Lang started pounding on the door. "Cheng Yi, open the door. Open the door." I listened quietly to the commotion inside. At first, there was the sound of things falling and trembling. But finally, it gradually went silent. I didn't go in to check. Instead, I went to my father's room. My father seemed to have aged 10 years in an instant. With his back hunched over, he said, "I've already called your brother back. I shouldn't have sent him away." At the beginning, my father saw through Cheng Yang's inner turmoil. He thought that sending my brother away would make her feel better. "Xiao Yi, what she said is true, isn't it?" "I guess so. Otherwise, with your personality, You wouldn't treat her like this. It's my fault. It's all my fault. 16. My father didn't punish me. He showed me the Qing family's genealogy. As expected, every couple was a human and an orc. My father said that when our ancestors started building their fortune, our great-grandmother fell in love with an orc. They loved each other, but their relationship wasn't blessed. In the end, a disaster struck, and the orc sacrificed his life to save her, heartbroken. She made this rule despite all the opposition. It was also her hope that humans and orcs could live in peace in the future. When I came out, I saw Bai Chuan. He had his arms crossed and was leaning against the wall. Is it all resolved? I nodded. He's been very busy lately and rarely around. I guessed he was busy with the same things as in his previous life. Looking at my expression, Bai Chuan sighed. I could have killed them for you earlier. That would have solved everything. I shook my head. Just leave me alone for a while. Watching Pei Lang and Cheng Yang destroy each other gave me a sense of satisfaction, but seeing my father's tired appearance made me feel guilty. Soon, my brother came back. At my father's behest, he joined the company and gradually took over. Things also went smoothly for Bai Chuan. Every night, he would sneak into my room and hoarsely beg me to help him. Once again, his cool snake tail wrapped around my calf. Bai Chuan, I have a knife. The snake tail quietly retreated. Sure enough, he was lying to me. An orc's rutting period isn't that frequent. Bai Chuan, give me a reason. He rubbed against my ear. Is it that hard to understand? I was getting annoyed. Speak plainly. In your previous life, you buried my remains. I sat up suddenly, shocked. You too. Bai Chuan sat up unhurriedly. Yes, after that, my soul stayed by your side. I watched you suffer because of Pei Lang and finally die, then I was reborn with you. How amazing, Bai Chuan suddenly said. Cheng Yi, do you remember the Qing family's ancestral motto? What? He smiled mysteriously. Choose an orc, train them, and make them your lifelong partner. Never betray or abandon them. You chose me. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.